Okay, we're going to get started now. First test complete. They've managed to arrange themselves alphabetically. Good sign that they know the alphabet. We're going to have similar format to the other ones. For those of you who aren't aware, we are going to start with an introductory speech from each of the candidates, up to 3 minutes max, followed by questions for all candidates, followed by questions for individual candidates. If you want to ask a question, there's little slips of paper all over the hall. Just raise them up, and Matthew and Donal will be going along picking them up. If you have any points of information or kind of say anything incorrect or you'd like to question further, just raise your hand and wait for me to point you out. If I don't, it may be just that I think it's irrelevant or that I really need to keep moving on because we're rather tight for time. As well as that, the thing is being live tweeted. Please feel free to tweet their responses, your views on their responses. It's not anonymous like Yik-Yak, so keep it semi-polite at least. They are being, I think, live tweeted or shown live feed in the bar, so people do actually see it, amazingly. So, @elections MSU and #MSU next leader. Okay, we're going to get started now. So, we're going to go 3 minutes from Aidan Carrig.
Hi guys, I'm Aidan Carrig, I'm 23. I'm a media and history graduate here from Maynooth, and I'm currently doing an MA in European history. I work now as a tutor for the history department as well, tutoring mainly first years. I have a few things here that I think I'd like to introduce. I'd like to set up a grinds database, similar to the one that we have for the housing list here in Maynooth with the accommodation office. I'd like to set up an edu-buddy system, so it's kind of like an academic buddy system where we would pair up struggling first year students, so with second year students that have just gone through, so they know the assignments and they know the lectures and who to avoid and that kind of thing. Because working as a tutor, I know sometimes people don't want to come to you because they don't want you to think they're an idiot because they know you're correcting their assignments, which is something that they shouldn't think, but they do. I know some lecturers can be actually quite, dismissive of students as well, so this kind of cuts that out. Also, I was potentially thinking of setting up a kind of education club, so like for first year history education club, geography first year education club, where you could kind of go and get help independently with your assignments, and to incentivise people to actually volunteer as tutors and this kind of thing. We would try and certify them. I know there's a crowd called Alive that used to do for NUIG there a few years ago, so maybe try to get them in on board as well. Also then, I know Dylan is trying to change the class rep system, but I'd like things to be more transparent. I'd like class reps actually to be listed on the website. I know there's a link for it, but there's no list on it. Also then to have a schedule. I know UL put up a schedule of their class union council meetings at the beginning of the year, so everyone knows when they're on, so you know when and what to say to your student's representative, and you know when they're actually going to say it, and then post up the minutes so you know they're actually doing what you're asking them to do. Then also, Inthas building there, sometimes there was no lectures in it there for about 3 hours today, because I went over to talking it and wasn't prepared enough. I should have known there was no one in there. But at the beginning of the year, the class I'm tutoring history, there's 360 students in it. They were put into the arts theatre with a capacity of 220. That's simple maths, it doesn't work. That shouldn't have happened. So I'd like to kind of make sure that doesn't happen next year by sitting with the guys that book these timetables and that kind of thing. Also then, to run life skill courses, the university or the students' union, to try and run life skill courses. People come out of college with a university degree and they can't fill out their taxes. There could be a student working and paying emergency tax and they're actually owed money by the revenue, but they haven't a clue. I know a few that have got caught out that way. And then, in terms of looking outside of just this students' union, I'd like with the way the general election went, I think we have a perfect opportunity to start protesting again, to protest for a reintroduction of a postgraduate maintenance grants, and also for a supplementary payment for student teachers. Student nurses get paid, so associate student teachers. Now, I can't promise that we will get that, but I can promise I will protest, and we can try organise a protest. Now, that might be a bit outside the portfolio of the education officer, but I don't see why we can't bring it in. And we can't go and work with other students' unions to try and organise this, because we have a perfect 12-month opportunity here, 18-month opportunity, because no one knows what kind of makeup this government is going to take and who's going to be trying to screw who over to try and get popularity. So it's a perfect opportunity. The last great protest we had, I think, was 2011, when they were increasing the fees that time. They're my main ideas anyway. If you have any issues at all, I'll mull it over for you. Sorry about the cheesiness, right? But, everyone needs a gimmick. Thanks, and vote Aidan.
Hey everyone, I'm Christopher Floody. I'm running for Vice President of Education because since I was in first year, a lot of my friends have dropped out of college and it was very easily preventable. So the first point on my manifesto is making sure all the students know everything about their degrees. Like my friend, she was in first year doing astrophysics and she hated it. And she didn't know that she could switch to computer science, which was one of the subjects she was doing, for free. And she ended up dropping out and not being able to carry on. And that's happened to a good few people I know. And it's not fair. It's not okay that the university doesn't tell the students these things. It's very basic, fundamental stuff that you should all know. You know, minimum entry requirements into second year. That, for example, in French, to get into the final year of French, you need at least 50%. A lot of students don't know these things. One of my friends had to drop out because she was told she would have to repeat second year in order to continue with her degree. She couldn't afford that, so she had to leave. This is all the stuff that the university should cover. The university is not covering it, so it's up to the students' union to do it, okay? Then this leads on to the second point of students don't know how to apply for PhDs, when to apply for PhDs, how do you get funding, how do you apply for a SUSI grant. All these things should be covered by the union because the university ain't going to do it. So that's what I wanted to do, to make sure that students are able not just to go and carry on through the years, but make sure they have the funding to carry on to the highest levels of education if they want to. That includes knowing how to write up a CV, because a CV for a degree in business and economics and French and chemistry are completely different from one another. And if you go into the careers office, they are currently useless. You go in, they will tell you, oh, come back in 3 weeks and we'll talk when we have the biology guy there. You come back 3 weeks later and they'll either cancel your appointment or maybe he'll be there and he's of no help to you. That's not okay. There should be access to that information to all the students. It's basic importance. And the next thing then would be making sure that all the societies and students are represented on campus. Because, for example, there's the Math Support Centre. It's a great resource. There's the Write Support Centre. It's a fantastic resource for anybody who's writing essays. So that includes psychology, anthropology, everyone. But for somebody who's doing Irish, there is no support centre. For someone who's doing chemistry, there isn't one. And that's the kind of thing where I, as education officer, could be nominated by the president to sit on the Irish committee to make sure that they know that students are struggling with certain issues. It's important that they know that kind of thing. And these are all basic information that students aren't being provided with. And it's not as flashy as you know, trying to stop fees. That's a big deal, but that's for the USI education officer to do. It's for us, for me, in Maynooth, it's up to us to do the basic fundamental things and make sure students can carry on with their degrees. Finally, I don't know how many of you are second or third years, but if you remember the bubble wrap from last year, I feel like it was great for the students to be able to go down to the library and when it was wrapped around the pillars and just pop to de-stress, so I wanted to bring back the bubble wrap. So a lot of the stuff I'm saying, it's not really very, you know, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But when you know that a lot of students drop out because they don't know minimum entry, they don't know, you know, oh, I can switch out of astrophysics to do computer science, or maths education to do just maths if you really hate teaching. All these things are things that people need to know. It's not, you know, not rocket science. It should be available on your Moodle. It should be available from the university website. There should be a database in the union. Also, it's important that when people are applying for PhDs, that the union can provide them with information on how and who to contact. If you want to contact your supervisor or if you want to go somewhere else, it's important that students know that. So that's why I'm running for education. I'm committed to education. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Niamh Halpenny and I'm a final year English and Geography student. I have been heavily involved in the Students' Union from my first year. I have helped out in other campaigns over the years, and I am currently involved in the promo and ends team in the Students' Union under Leon Diop. I'm also a third year representative, class rep for English, so I sit on the Union Council and attend the meetings. Over the years, overseeing the campaigns, I've seen a lot of vague promises made, and I feel that my manifesto is more clear and achievable. My first point is to do with academic advisory. I feel there's not enough academic advisory in the college. I know we do not have the funding to employ actual people to do this, so I'd love to train in students on a voluntary basis to be able to answer questions like rules on compensation, rules on changing modules, rules on plagiarism, all these little questions that seem to be hard to find. And I think it's a great experience for students to have this on their CV, as well as great for you to have the information quickly and on hand. Another thing I feel personally passionate about is the Student Assistance Fund. I'd love to work with the incoming Equality Officer, Welfare and Equality Officer, to promote this more. I've relied heavily on this over the last 3 years in college. It's a financial aid and anybody can apply for it, and people don't seem to know enough about it. It's for anything you need, like rent, books, everything else that you could, like a financial aid you might come into over your 3 years in college or 4 years in college. And it's great and it needs to be promoted more. Another thing is a postgrad and careers fair. Now I know there's currently a postgrad fair in Maynooth, but it's just Maynooth based. So I want to expand that, and I want students to know there are other options out there, even how to study abroad, how to apply, the dates that you have to apply by, the stuff that you actually need to apply to these courses. I think a great thing to do would be invite Grad Ireland to our college to be able to explain these things to students. The careers fair, yeah, I'd love a setup like the clubs and societies fair. I know it's a student engagement policy for them to kind of sort out, but I feel like it should be for the education officer. I think we could invite businesses and organisations, because I feel like our students in Maynooth are very employable after they're finished their degree. Lastly, I want to move on to the ILI. It's not my manifesto because I had to do research. I did know about it, and because I know people involved in it and learning partners, but I had to do research on what's going on at the moment. It's the Inclusive Learning Initiative, if you don't know what ILI stands for. It's a great initiative in our college. It's for students with learning disabilities that are able to attend our college and experience our university on socially and to experience the wide range of courses we have in our college. From my research over the last week, I have realised that the 4 students that are currently part of this initiative will be the last ones that will be accepted to our college. And I think it's a complete contradiction to our No Labels, No Limits campaign, and I feel like the ILI should be heavily involved in that week of campaign and should have more say in the college. So if I get elected as education officer, that was one thing I think needs to be addressed straight away. And yeah, that's all I've got to say. Thanks very much.
Hello everyone, my name is Thomas Stafford. I am currently a 4th year science education student, which means I am a teacher in training. I've been highly involved with Maynooth through different clubs and societies throughout the years, and I'm just going to run you through a few points on my manifesto. So basically, first of all, I want to work with getting mental health workshops into the college for around exam time, where students are stressed out with assignments, etc. I know this may be a welfare issue, although if someone's mental health is affecting them, it is going to affect their academic performance also. Okay, I can do this by liaising with Claire Garrity in the mental health society, or else by working with Rose Dorn over in the Access office as well, as I'm also a member of that. Secondly, I would like to work with the Career Development Centre. Okay, so whether it be liaising with Brendan Baker or our academic advisors, sorry, that's not just me. Okay, so whether it be liaising with them, so that students can go in and get the information that they actually need. Okay, more student-centred. I know that a lot of students go in and I ask the career advisory officers what's happening. They say they sit back and they say, okay, so what do you want? Instead of telling the students, this is exactly what you can get out of your degree. Okay, I don't want any student being afraid to leave Maynooth, okay, without knowing what is available to them. Also, throughout my degree, I've got a chance to work with Dev Education, so Development Education. Basically, what Development Education does is they go to third world countries, they come back, and I know they work on a secondary level basis with students. They give them a chance to work on different projects which may go out into a third world country and really affect the lives of someone in a third world country. Okay, how this would affect Maynooth, they can also push it to a third level education as well. Okay, so they can come in, fund a student. If a student has a bright idea, whether it be science, English, history, it doesn't matter, okay? And they can help those students bring that to a third world country. It can really help Maynooth on a global scale, and it can also allocate employment opportunities to the college. It's being a secondary school teacher, something that I worry about with my students anyway is a transition for students from 6th year into 1st year. I've also talked to a few mature students who said if they're coming back to education, they've found it very hard and they get lost along the way. I just want to make them aware of all the different facilities that are available, such as the Math Support Centre, the Writing Centre, the different library tutorials, all the different free options. I also want to help them out with workshops and tutorials which may integrate them more and make their transition easier. Okay, I don't want this just to be a 1st year thing. I want it to work all throughout the years in Maynooth so that no one gets lost along the way, because unfortunately I did. Okay, and finally, Yes, I also want to, not really promote, but I want to kind of attack the Student Assistance Fund. Again, I know that this is kind of a welfare issue, but again, it is vital for students to get through their academic year. All right, I can do that by liaising with the welfare officer also. That's all I'd like to say about my manifesto. I'm Thomas Stafford, and I really appreciate your vote for VP of Education next Wednesday. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to start with questions for all candidates now. First question is, who is the Vice President Academic / Registrar of the University? Chris, you're first.
Like the current student representative?
No, the current University Vice President of Academic / Registrar. The university staff.
I actually do not know that. I'm going to be honest. I know Philip Nolan's president. I know that the vice president for academics would sit on governing authority, and that they'd sit on an academic council, and that they sit on the teaching and learning council. Unfortunately, I don't know all their names. There's too many people to learn, but it's just knowing what they do and how to interact with them. I feel is more important. So, sorry.
Yeah.
Is it Aidan McLean?
Okay.
Aidan Mulcairn.
Yeah, Aidan Mulcairn is the correct answer. He's also Deputy President. Next question is, as Vice President of Education, one of your jobs is you're the convener and secretary of the MSU executive. Have you been to the other candidates' hustings for the part-time positions? And if not, why, essentially? You're going to have to work as essentially a line manager for these people next year, and part of your role is coordinating with them. Niamh, you're first.
I haven't been to them all. It's been a busy week for all candidates, I'm sure. I have been around the common room and I've seen a couple of them. I've seen the promotions officers debate. I think I walked in on the social science reps debate as well. I was there last night, obviously at the hustings last night. And other than that, that is all I've seen so far. But I've had people there watching them, and I've heard everything they had to say, and I'm quite informed on it all. So.
Similarly, I haven't been. Last night was my first hustings. Again, like Niamh said, we're all busy throughout the week. That's no excuse. However, all I can say is that throughout my degree, being a teacher, I've worked in a staff room with many different teachers. I have linked with many different people, so I'm very used to taking on board different people's ideas, passing on my ideas, and I have no problem working with other people. I also have seen the different manifestos and the work that they've been doing around campus, which I appreciate a lot. And after that, I have nothing more to say. Thanks very much.
Well, I haven't actually been to any of them. I've been tied up. I don't have a huge campaign team. We're primarily postgraduates and final year science students, engineers as well. It's not a great excuse. I'm around a bit too long, but also I've been tied up with tutorials as well, giving tutorials and that, and my own lectures as well, and just campaigning in general. So I haven't been, but I have been talking to a few reps or people that are going for it anyway, and I've been reading manifestos as well. But
I have been able to go to some of the part-time. I went to the science and engineering, went to the social science, I went to the welfare and equality hustings last night. Now my thesis is actually due tomorrow, so I've been quite busy trying to run a campaign while doing this. The thing is, I have worked with the education officer who's been in the union previously, and I know how to coordinate with them. For example, last year there was a problem with mathematics. They had a 100% CA exam, and if you failed that, you failed the entire year, and there was no recourse. So I worked with actually Andy when he was education officer, and I worked with him and make sure that was dealt with by the maths department. So I know that the other candidates around, so Jonah, Diego, Karen, those are the other students that I have to be working with. More important is knowing which faculties, so knowing who's going to be social science rep, science and engineering, arts and Celtic studies and philosophy, knowing them and knowing what problems they're having so we can work through them together. Thank you.
Next question is building on that. How many part-time officers are there in the union, and can you name two of them? Current officers, part-time. Starting with Tom this time.
I actually can't, unfortunately. I apologize.
Sydney and Amy are they're one arts and philosophy and Celtic studies. I have that backwards, Celtic studies then philosophy. And Amy's the science and engineering, I believe. Yeah.
And how many positions are there?
How many positions do you have? Science and engineering, Irish, the arts and Celtic studies one, social science. Then you have promotions. Even there's two more. Yeah.
Chris, you're next?
I think there's all told, I think there's 18 positions, including, there's Forever rep, Kilkenny rep, first year rep, science and engineering. So there'll be Emmy Ryan, there'll be Sydney, Harshman Early. There's Kieran. I can't actually remember his second name. Kieran Watts. What was I thinking? And there's also, I know Leon Diop is currently promotions officer, as everybody's seen him around. I know, that those are all the people that are currently, and some of them are rerunning, so we might end up working with them again. But it's nice to know that there are a large, diverse amount of people who are currently involved, and it's important to know that it's not just like 6 or 7 people. There's a large team of people for this. Thanks.
Part-time positions, I think there's 15. I know that the promotions officer, I've worked with him, Leon Diop. I've the Emmy Ryan, I spoke to her a lot during the week. After that, I'm fairly stuck.
Yeah, well, you got 2 people, so I asked 2. Correct answer is there's 12 part-time positions on the executive. I'm not going to list them all because I think between the lot you've got 2 of them all. And those who said names were correct with the names. Next question is another constitutional one, I'm afraid. Who is the primary representative on academic council? Starting with Aidan. Primary student representative, sorry.
On the
academic council.
Academic council. I think I would mix them with the head of the union council, which is Matthew, but that's not the academic council. I was just going to say the education officer, Dylan.
I know that the president sits on the academic council, so I'm going to assume that as he's head of the students' union currently, it's the president who's head as first point of access for the education.
I would probably guess Dylan as education officer, or president again, would be sure.
Yep, Dylan.
It's kind of a trick question. It's technically both the president and the education officer.
Here.
That's our constitution. Yeah, constitution's fun. It's currently both of them, so you kind of all half right. Okay, now on to more meaty topics. How do you plan on dealing with limited library space in and around exams? Chris, you're first this time.
This is a massive problem with the university, and I'm not going to pretend I'm going to be able to solve it easily. I'm not going to be able to create more study space from nothing. It would be important to know that, as Aidan said earlier, there are empty lecture halls in and around the campus all throughout the year. If the university would be kind enough to let us know, say class hall F or G or H are all empty at certain times, let the students know where these are, let them know when they're free so they can go in and use them as study spaces. It's important that...
Just point of information, there's actually a huge crisis with locations. So while there are lecture halls free, they're usually used for tutorials that are bi-weekly.
That's something we do see, and I know myself, I've used some of the tutorial rooms in JH to help people when they need help with chemistry, and it is awkward that you don't know when they're going to be free. So that's why I'd like to liaise with the college to make sure if they know when the tutorials are, if they're on bi-weekly, we'll know where they are. Ali?
I'm sorry, but I thought the question was during exam time. I don't know if I heard that right.
Yeah.
So
in and around exams.
During exam time.
There is, January there's exams, and there's lectures in around theatres. Yeah.
So there should be more spaces free during exam time.
From being in the library a lot during exam time, I know it's a struggle for a lot of students to get up so early to be there for 8:30 to get your seat. I think there needs to be more supervised in the library, as in the seats being, like, their stuff has been left on it, and I've seen people leave computers and coats on seats for hours upon hours, and it's not fair. It's fairly not fair on students. I think that needs to be looked at more. I think it needs to be watched more. I know it's just the signs in the library that says that you can't leave your stuff down for so much time, but I think it needs to be actually watched more so that students do get in and can use the computers and it's shared around.
Yeah, well, outside of the library, I know that there's the study area in the arts block. I think that's very useful for students, and I know a lot of students who go to study there during the exam period. I do agree with Chris's point of possibly letting students know or having an online timetable like the library have for the opening hours during the exams. I think that would be a really good idea, possibly to have that up online so that students know where they can go. So I agree with that point largely. Other than that, I really can't see how you can deal with that crisis unless one point is possibly, I know that the library's up to 2 a.m. during the exam period this year. I know that at one point, maybe 2 years ago, it ran a 24-hour service. I know that that's maybe costly, but I think that may be another way of going about giving an extra study space for students. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Thanks so much.
Yeah, point of information, I don't think the library is ever open 24 hours here in Maynooth.
Okay.
Just to say about the tutorials not being during exam time, I know an awful lot of departments actually do catch-up tutorials. I was teaching tutorials during January, during the middle of the exams as well. So there are some rooms being used, but that's just to be more fair on first years. But I mean, you see during the exams, you can see lads watching, like they're watching matches on the computers downstairs in the library. They're watching soccer matches and playing on Facebook. Like that's, you know, there should be someone walking around supervising if they see someone watching a soccer match. Like just, you know, that's not on. I know you need study breaks and whatever, but you have 15 minutes, you know, where you can leave or whatever and come back. It says don't vacate for longer than 15 minutes. Just being more vigilant with the supervision around the library as well. And the arts block, I know they said there's a sign up that says like only NUIM students during exam times in the reading room, but like there's still secondary school students in there. So like that just needs to be enforced. It's just non-enforcement of rules.
Yeah. Just like to remind people that you can raise your hand to ask a question if they say something that you don't agree with, or slash have a question about. I'm just going to build on that though. We've all talked about policing the library. Whose job should it be to police the library? The library staff they won't police it essentially, and they'll do it for ridiculous things. But for people who leave their desks, they feel it's not their job to be policing things or moving students' property. So would you be advising that staff should be moving students' property?
I think, sorry, go on.
I was trying to figure out who's starting. I was going to say who starts, but I think who started? You started, so you can.
Oh no,
yeah.
I thought, no, sorry, I
Yeah,
thought it was me.
it is you actually, think. You talked last there. You talked last. You come first time. Niamh for your first.
Yeah. I think, look, I know it's hard to get staff and apply more staff and do more stuff, but again, you could use the whole student side of it again, you know, not on a voluntary basis obviously, but you could have students in, you wouldn't have to be walking around the library constantly to look at people, making sure they're away from the computers. You could do it on the hour every 2 hours and keep an eye on certain desks obviously, and if you spot one you write it down, have a system where you're passing it on to people and checking each desk and that kind of stuff. I think that's the way to go about it. I think it is, the only way to do it is to get staff, unfortunately, to do it.
Yeah.
Do you think it would work if a student was telling another student to move their stuff? I don't see that pull down out.
A student telling no, I know, but I'm saying a student as a worker in the library, not as just a student coming up to students. I know obviously we've all probably had arguments in the library with students taking seats and all that kind of stuff. You can't get into rows. I think the students need to be employed by the library. Obviously I said not on a voluntary basis because we just can't ask students to do that.
Sorry, to get back first.
There are already posters up or flyers up in the library saying, say if there's a non-postgraduate student in postgraduate room to alert the student, or can you just do that for the same thing at the exam time, chairs are being used.
What was that, sorry?
So there's flyers up outside the postgrad room that say alert the staff if someone if an undergrad is in the postgrad room or someone who's on there. Why doesn't that just work in the same way instead of having a control service?
There you go, that's definitely an idea to put forward, that you could have the same system as the postgrad room. I think actually that is a great idea to have the same system.
Back to the question of who should police the library essentially. Library staff don't. It's not their job.
Yeah, I wouldn't really agree with the point of having a student employed by the college to police the library, just for the simple fact that perhaps if there is students who are employed by the library that have their own exams around that exam time, that would be quite stressful. I do believe that the students should take it upon themselves that it is their study space, it is their exam time, and they should pass on or alert the people who actually are working in the library, to let them know that there is disturbances or there is someone who's not using the study space correctly. So I think students in Maynooth are quite vocal, so I believe that they can take it upon themselves just to alert the staff or a member of staff and then let the situation be dealt with.
I think our library isn't exactly huge. It doesn't take that long to walk around it. They can do spot checks. Like it's very obvious when there's a desk that you haven't seen someone at for a long time if you walk past 2 or 3 times. And I'm not saying they have to be walking past every 5 minutes. Like even if they walk past every half an hour, because there is desks that'll be left there, and just do it on a random enough basis that it'll discourage others. And then if that doesn't work, then just do more.
I think the issue is that staff say it's not their job to be moving.
Put it in their job description. Is what I'm saying.
Is that fair though, if you have an individual who's sitting there, say from first thing in the morning, say they're working on thesis and they need to spend the whole day there, that say they need an hour, or they need to go off, they need to clear their head or something like that, like how can you differentiate who's actually legitimately doing work there for a certain period of time and who's not? Certain students will need an hour break, certain students might only need 10 minutes, like how would you be able to differentiate the two?
But that's a separate issue. 15 minutes they're allowed. Okay, yeah. Come back after 15 minutes, spend another half an hour, and take another 15-minute break. Do you know? It's a separate. There could be a room for those. Do you know what I mean? That should be sort of in the same way the postgraduate room is for postgraduates. You know, if there was a priority, the other silent area. If that was for those that priority doing theses or whatever, setting up a different priority room. That might be another way of dealing with that.
Do you want to go? Are they specific to Aidan's response, or are they specific to the question?
Sort of, because what if you go off for lunch for an hour? Like if you get in at 8 o'clock, you get to see at 8 o'clock, do you have to lose it if you want to go have a proper lunch?
Come prepared and bring your lunch with you.
You can't have food in the library. You're not allowed to eat food in the library.
Yeah, have it in your school bag and leave for 15 minutes to eat it. You don't have to eat in the library.
That still doesn't
Okay,
change.
I'm gluten intolerant and the library don't supply gluten-free food, and I can't bring most meals I have to eat, so I can't actually eat in the library.
You can get gluten-free pasta and cook it and put it in put it in.
I'm actually gluten intolerant myself, so I know the struggles of trying to find food. But I do agree you can get the pastas, cold pastas. So you can get the cold pastas and sauces. I know it's very hard to find, but you can do it, and you can bring lunch boxes in with you. And I do agree that I know you can't eat in the library, but you can come down to the library for 15 minutes and eat it and back up if you're that dedicated to your whatever work you have to do.
Okay, I'm going to get Chris's response to that question now.
First of all, I didn't get a chance to speak. But first of all, if the library staff say it's not their job, trying to convince them to do that is going to be an absolute nightmare, and I feel like it would be very difficult for any officer to do that. Secondly, if they are agreeing to do it, we don't have we have no recourse to actually increase the funding in order to deploy them to be around more. Like, as we've already seen, the university and they're on tight purse strings as it is. We can't be going around saying, okay, we want extra people here and here without any thought to funding. As for getting other students to police it, that can get very messy very quickly if their students are either being biased, if they just feel like they want somebody out because, hey, they've been gone for 5 minutes, I haven't seen them. I feel it's important that we let students know, there's two things we need to do. First thing is, let students know, look, other people are studying. Make it much more, make it a campaign during study time, because a lot of students might either forget or they just, if they're reminded, it might make them a bit more feasible to right, I am kind of, I'm being a bit too, I'm taking up a lot of space, I'm not even actually doing any work, I maybe should just go home or, look for somewhere else. So let them know. So first of all, actually to ask the students, could you please be a bit more considerate? And then second thing is asking the library staff if there is a complaint, a genuine complaint, because they shouldn't have to be going up and looking around. They don't have time to do that. They've got other things to be doing. So if there is a complaint from one of the students that, look, this person's been sitting there for hours watching a football match, or there's been blank spaces for ages, let them know, and then they can go and say, I know they don't want to move anything, but they may be able to say, take the student number of someone if they come back, or ask the students themselves, look, do you know the person, do you know where they've been, or have you been looking for a space? So, thanks. Aisling?
Just to add to your point, there is actually an anonymous system there that you can message the library staff if you think that someone is talking to you about too much space, where kind of misuse library facilities. So just put your information.
I love that you waited until they all answered before you gave that one. Next question is, who are the deans of the university? And name and position, I suppose. Starting with whoever started last, Thomas.
I know that there's Fiona Ludgy for biosciences. I know that there's Ronan Riley for international studies, and after that I'm not quite sure.
The Dean of Science, I came prepared, is Fiona Liddy. The Dean of Arts, Celtic Studies and Philosophy is Victor Lazzarini. Social Sciences Dean is Rowena Peciniho.
She's
Oh, did
still here. She hasn't left
She's
yet.
still up on the website.
Oh, sorry, no.
Shouldn't be saying that midway through asking people.
I don't know the actual names of the people who are the deans. I know there's a dean for social science and social science. There's a dean for arts, Celtic studies, and philosophy. There's a dean for science. There's a dean for international reps. I have the international office. Like the thing is, I know knowing the names is important, but knowing what the positions do is slightly more important because the names can change year on year. People change in and out of positions. Knowing that where they are and what they represent is more important.
Point of information is the Dean for Science and Engineering, not just the Dean for Science.
I'm sorry. I know psychology can be well. I'm sorry. I know psychology gets included in science and engineering as well. So,
Niamh?
Now, I don't know, as far as I know, the arts is Thomas O'Connor, the social science is Rowena Pescinino, there we go, that's better. Science and engineering is for Fiona Liddy. I don't know, someone said she's gone now, but as far as I know, it's still Fiona Liddy. I've looked into it, so.
Cool. The Dean for Science and Engineering is Fiona Liddy. She's not the one who's leaving. The Dean for Social Science is Rowena Pecanino. She is the one who's leaving, hasn't left yet. Arts, Celtic Studies and Philosophy is Dr. Victor Lazzarini. The Dean for Graduate and International Studies is Ronan Riley. And the Dean for Teaching and Learning is Dr. Alison Hood. So I think 3 out of 5. Okay. Recent studies carried out in the University of Durham have found that students' result increased by 8 to 10% when a semester increases by 2 to 4 weeks. Do you think that the semester is too short and we need to extend the semester by the 2 to 4 weeks to increase students' overall results? Starting with... I shouldn't really remember who started first.
well, he said it last time.
So you're saying increase it by 2 weeks to improve the results, 2 to 4 weeks?
Yeah.
I wouldn't personally have an issue with that myself. I think like when you look at other universities, like they have their exams before Christmas or whatever and they're back, but we have our exams in January, but like we're not back till February in college. And then the second semester we have 2 weeks of a break and then you come back from your Easter, well it's not always 2 weeks in a row, but it's 2 weeks in a row this year. And like you're essentially like the year is over nearly. So I couldn't see an issue with putting maybe a week or two earlier in September and adding going into the first week. Or going like having an actual class the first, second, third week of May. You know what I mean? Add 2 weeks aside. Yeah.
I feel that may be a bit difficult on the college to increase the amount of weeks available. And I know it would benefit a lot of students because a lot of time people are rushing to get through their lecture material and they barely get it finished if they get it finished at all. But I know the exams start being in January. Some students don't like it, some students do. What it does is it offers a lot of flexibility to the students, especially in first year, that they have 6 weeks to choose between which modules they want to do and all those kinds of things. Aidan?
Just a point of information, other colleges have their exams in December because they start earlier and they have college starting back in January and they have their exams in April, so they're not longer.
I know they're not longer, but why can't we start earlier and still run the way we run?
Anyway, so if you for example, if they move the exams back to December, then the first year will lose a lot of flexibility in what they can switch between their subjects and modules. And I know if we could increase the weeks, it might be better off for the lecturers. However, that's going to be an awful lot of cost on the university. that's going to be very difficult to do, and it's going to be like that's something unfortunately we have to think about when we want to propose any of these things. Is the university might not be able to provide enough funding for this type of thing, and also increasing the amount of weeks might take a toll on the students who are trying to work during the summer to pay for their college, like pay for accommodation, or if they're repeating, pay for the actual fees. They need the time during the summer in order to earn that money. If we cut that down by a month, that's a significant loss of money.
So did you say like by starting like is the way NYG and stuff was, just an example, they start at the start of September and then they have obviously their exam before Christmas and then they go back and then they're finished by the start of May. So if students were saving up for college, would not make more sense is that May, June, July, August to save up instead of, like, I think it would make more sense.
Well, when we finish our exams, the exams generally finish on the 23rd of May, I think. I don't know what the exact date is this year. It's the 1st of June, is it?
Very, very last day of the exam, and then on this year's
4th of June. That's actually quite late this year.
No, it won't end on the 4th of June, but that's up to the very...
That's the in case of extraneous circumstances, is it? Okay. So while that is late, but that still gives you June, July, August, and a chunk of September. If we increase the week, that means we're going to have to, if we increase the amount of weeks in the year, we're going to have to move the exams in May back further, and we're going to have to move the weeks in September back further again. So probably lose the rest of September and the about half of June.
But you'd be kind of saving though as well because you're just finishing earlier, so you're saving out on all of May. So I don't think it makes any sense that they're losing.
How are we going to finish earlier if we're adding weeks to the calendar?
Yeah, but I think you mean adding weeks to the start of September.
No, well, we're going to have to add a couple to each semester. Eric?
I just think we're missing or forgetting the point. Do you not think it's better for a student to get 8 to 10% better grade?
That's the thing.
Working at McDonald's over summer.
It's the thing, we need that, but a lot of students unfortunately can't. Like the university possibly can't provide it, and it's great if a student get an 8 or 10% extra, but if they can't afford to stay in college, then they're going to get nothing. And as sad as it is, that's the reality we live in.
That's not the difference between the first and the two, wasn't it?
It could be, but
Niamh, I'm going to move on.
Can I hear the question again?
Yeah.
There's been so many.
Recent studies carried out in Durham, in the University of Durham, have found that student results increased by 8 to 10% when... Recent studies carried out in the University of Durham have found that student results increase by 8 to 10% when a semester increases by 2 to 4 weeks. Do you agree that the semester is too short and that we need to extend the semester by 2 to 4 weeks to enhance the overall results of students?
Well, if that's like there, that's pure factual to actually have there like 8 to 10%. As said, I did say it's between a first and difference between them. Like, if that's right, then that would be great. If it was able to do it by the college, it's something that would have to be asked or proposed to see if that would be able to do. And I suppose the students would have to have a say in them themselves, whether they would want that or not, how they'd feel about it. Because I know with the whole exam system, there's a 50-50 now at the moment, if they want to change the exams to before Christmas or after Christmas. So, yeah, students would have to have a say in it.
Yeah, I personally think it'd be a good idea. Maybe 2 weeks, not up to the 4 week bracket. But when I talk about the transition of pupils from secondary into college or from throughout college itself, I think that a lot of students I talk to have got lost in the first month of college because they haven't hit the ground running, and before they know it, it's 2 months or 2 months to the Christmas exams, and they're a bit lost. I think if we had the 2 weeks extra bracket, I agree, it probably would bring up to 6 to 10%, if that's the correct figures. Yeah, I think it'd be a very good idea. It would give students that time to transition from first to second year or from sixth year into the college life. I think it'd be a very good idea, and I think it would also give lecturers more time to actually fit in the material and even recap on some of the material that they possibly need for the Christmas exams.
Do you know how many committees the VP Education sits on? Do you think this is too much or too little? Starting with Chris.
I haven't talked to Dylan Grace about this. I know that the VP Education sits on 22 regular committees and then up to 28 including any nominated by the President, USI, Union Council. So I know it's an awful lot of committees to be sitting on, but that's what the university, that's what the job is. That's what the education officer is there for. Is that they're sitting on so many. Yes, so there's about 22, but that's not every week. There might be every couple of weeks, every month. So there might be one that meets weekly, for example. I think it's the governing authority that meets weekly. No, or the academic...
Executive.
The executive.
Union executive.
The union executive. So while that would take up an hour each week, there's still enough time for the education officer to be present in the office, so we can go into them with casework and say, look, this problem is going down with the chemistry department, this problem is happening with the arts department. while it's an awful lot of hours to be sitting there, that's the whole point. So when somebody comes to you with a problem like, maths have, set an assignment that they're not giving us any time to do, then they can go to the, education or teaching and learning with that problem, and that's like what they need to be there for. That's why they're elected. So I don't think it's too many hours.
So do you feel? So do you feel the issues are resolved at committees then, rather than by discussing with individuals? So if somebody comes to you with an issue, you're going to wait for the next meeting of the relevant committee?
See, that depends. If it's a pressing issue, then yeah. If it's a more of a structural issue, for example, there was a situation last year with students who went abroad to do, say, French or Spanish or Chinese, came back at a much higher standard than the people who hadn't gone abroad because they didn't spend a year speaking the language. And it meant that the departments were trying to change exams so that instead of everybody doing the same exam, they were trying to put it so that Chinese were they had a separate exam for people who'd gone abroad. And that's obviously not okay, and that's not something that you can go in and just with casework one-on-one sort out. That's something you need to bring to the committees week on week. So if somebody comes in and says that to, say, the education officer, that's something you need to, you can't just go over and be like, all right, we're going to sort this out now.
Point of information, I dealt with that by going straight to the department and not going through committees. But it did also come up with committee, but first and foremost. So moving on to Niamh for that one. How many committees does the VP Education sit on? Do you think it's too many, too little?
As far as I know, it's 22 at the moment. But next year that could vary again. It could change. We might be sitting on more or less. It just depends. I don't think it's too much. At the end of the day, if you're talking about being time consuming in that kind of way, it's really not. Like, as long as you organise yourself properly, you get it out. Look, as we can see from Dylan does it, and it does a very good job. So I think that if you organise your time right and you do it properly, you're definitely able to do it.
For those of you who can't see, Dylan's got the smuggest grin on his face. Cool.
Just repeat that again.
How many committees does the VP Education sit on? Do you think it's too many, too little?
22, and I don't think it's too many. I do believe that the VP of Education has to sit on these committees because, for the simple fact, within that role you have to understand what's going on in the other different committees to pertain your own role. So I don't think it's that much. I do hope that it wouldn't affect the students possibly trying to interact with the VP of Education, but I'm sure it doesn't. But other than that, no, I don't think it takes up. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, with 22 committees, it can be time consuming, but if you're doing science, you have 22 hours of classes more, whatever. So long as you're going to meetings with an agenda and you're not having meetings about having meetings, which we all know can happen at times, it's not too much. And so long as you structure yourself well enough and don't, as I said, have meetings about meetings.
Perfect. Okay. We're going to move on now in a minute. We're going to move on to questions for individual candidates now. So if you can stop sending up questions for all candidates. And for these ones, I am going to limit your answer to 1 minute. So basically, when the question's asked, you'll get 1 minute to respond, and then we'll take any POIs or arguments from the floor, and then you can respond. We'll take all the arguments as one. They respond once again, and then we move on to the next person. So you answered last. So starting with the question for Niamh. Where and how do you plan on getting funds for employing students to work in the library when there's already inefficient and expensive staff working there?
Well, as I said, it was it wasn't. It was just an idea. I think Aidan said it, that it probably should be more put into the employees that work there. Employees that work there they should be able to do it more. Again, it's not going to be a constant job where you have to walk around every 2 minutes to check on laptops, but as you said, it's quite clear. You can see when computers are being left for ages and ages with coats on them and that kind of stuff. So maybe the student isn't the way to go, but it's definitely an idea that you could talk to people about and see how they feel about it.
Yeah.
Was that not a bit off topic? The question was, where would you get the funds if the idea is implemented?
Well, it'd have to be the idea for a board first, and then you'd have to go into the funding and look at that before
No ideas.
not at the moment.
For Tom, seeing as you want to work in Mental Health Society, do you know who the current president is?
Current president of Mental Health Society. Almost sure it's.
She's got a massive smile.
It's Fan Russell. Aidan, you talked about an education buddy system. Are you aware of the university's peer mentoring system that's coming in next year, which will essentially link every first year with a peer mentor?
So yeah, a peer mentor. So but it's the same concept. So essentially.
So it's already done.
But to implement it though, just to have it purely on an academic basis. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I was talking about education clubs as well, where you would actually have these edubuddies also sitting maybe in an education club and certifying them with a live like NUIG do, and putting them in that way. Question?
I actually set up the Chemistry Society specifically as an education type committee, and the department were not happy with it. They didn't like the idea of students trying to help other students. So do you think that might be a problem? Because I set it up and it still went ahead. I told them like this was needed anyway. So do you think that might be a problem if the departments don't want students helping other students in case they teach something wrong and then the department gets the blame?
Well, it's independent of the department, so it's not the department that are to blame. At the end of the day, you're looking to be a students' union representative. Students should be allowed to have students. If we want like a community of academics, that's how you do. You work together, independent of the university as well.
Okay, for you guys, can I have the two questions here?
Yeah, Aidan, would you expect people to pay for that service, or like there would have to be an incentive for tutors, but also, you know, that students would have to be able to afford it if there wasn't one financial incentive?
And just Lorna, I'll take all the questions from the floor, and then you can respond to them all.
I think that just a quiz is a very specific example to demonstrate the non-sports centre actually is run by PhD students as well, and that works fantastically. And I know that academic writing centre as well does something similar. So I think that's just a specific example.
No, it's just Math Sports Centre is actually run by the department. Yeah, like
Karen
Karen McBarrett is there.
Okay, wait one second. Diego and thing, and then
So it's
Aidan.
computer science, and we have to do in computer science that's done by PhDs. So it's
And Aisling?
Point of reference, math support is not just PhD students, it's also master's students and actually undergrad students who volunteer their time as well.
And Aidan?
So the first question was to do with incentivizing them. That's why I said also in my manifesto I'd like to set up a grinds database separately if the people aren't able to, to get that level of help. So that's the difference there. But to incentivize people to do it is to try and certify them in some way that they can have something on their CV. Because if you're an art student or a science student, you might be thinking of going into the PME afterwards for the secondary school teaching. It would look good on your application if you were actually working as a tutor beforehand. So that's kind of how I would hope to incentivize it. And I also hope that we're all sound enough, and I know Karen's running this sound scone thing, so just be sound like.
Chris, how will you find the funding for all the subject support centres?
So I didn't say anything about subject support centres, but
lovely question.
I didn't say that because I knew that it would be very, very difficult to get funding for it. I didn't want to put anything in the manifesto I didn't think I could definitely do.
I think you said at the start in your introduction that you wanted to introduce subject support centres.
What I said was I wanted to introduce, I wanted to make sure that students had access to the information regarding their subjects. So for example, it wouldn't be difficult for the departments to put on Moodle, okay, you need 50% in order to carry the subject into next year. That's not, that's what I was talking about. I didn't say, I wasn't in having students in, as funded people to go around and work together. That's something that I would like to see students do, but it's not necessarily easily feasible. It's something I'd like to work on, but I didn't put it in the manifesto, and I didn't talk about it because I don't know if I can definitely do it.
Okay. That's Niamh. Grad Ireland already won postgrad and graduate fairs. Why does Maynooth need an extra one?
I know they do run one in the RDS, but as you can see, some students just can't make it out. It'd be so much handier to have one in your college if you're able to do that, and I think from looking up Grad Ireland you are able to do that. It would be great to have it on point. I think they need a broader one because so we can know how to apply abroad or outside Maynooth, that kind of way. Because I think the one we had on, as far as I know, was just Maynooth-based departments.
Yeah, go with the question.
Well, there is this one of the other desks because of the sheer size of it. Like, you couldn't fit that in.
No, we wouldn't obviously have, maybe not big, but obviously it couldn't be as big as the RDS. The RDS is huge, but it's an idea that I think Brad Ireland would be interested in to come to colleges as well. And I think, as far as I know, there's 2 colleges, Limerick and UCD. They come together or something for it, for Brad Ireland. I think something like that for postgrad. Fair.
Moving on, for Tom and Aidan actually, isn't this? You both mentioned life skills courses or something similar on those lines. Are you... Sorry, I'll leave your one. Being workshops into everyday college life where students can engage with their courses on a more practical level alongside their peers. So that's the one I'm relating to. Are you aware of the LISP sessions run in the library? And secondly, of the new the critical skills modules being run through the university, which are 15 credits that are not particularly related to any subject, but more about the critical skills that you should be gaining as a student in university. Tom first.
Okay, no, I wasn't aware of either of those. As regards to the rest of the question,
essentially they are courses that are similar to what you're talking about that are currently running and being expanded next year.
Well, if they're in planning for next year, or they are currently running? Yeah, currently running. Well, then obviously throughout my manifesto, I have talked about workshops. I wasn't currently aware of those, but of course I would stand behind those, try to promote those more, and make the students aware of these different courses that are actually taking place. Other than that, no, I wasn't aware, but that's the steps that I would take.
Yeah, I was at the Union Council meeting there with Big Phil about 2 or 3 weeks ago, where he was going on about the critical skills, and I know there was a pilot scheme introduced, but I'm talking about more like for when you're like that. Those seem to be skills for using in university. I'm talking about more for skills when you actually get out in the workplace, that kind of thing. I know Chris was mentioning about CVs and stuff as well, so that will come into it too. But I know there's a career, the career advisory centre here in Maynooth, but if you ever actually go on to their job advertisements, there's a job there that's been advertised as a primary teacher. It's a misspelling of primary teacher for the last 6 months. So that's not right either. So if they can't spell,
Sorry. Chris, sorry. I'm currently applying for my PhD with the help of my department. Is your stance regarding career development? Sorry. I'm currently applying for a PhD with the help of my department. Isn't your stance regarding our departments too pessimistic to say that they can't be helpful because of their personal experiences? I think I've read that right-ish. So essentially, you're very critical of the department's help, and essentially...
Well, it's less the department's help.
I think that's more a question for you.
No, that's something I can mention. No, it's more so, it's not the departments themselves, it's actually...
I'm trying to approach my question.
No, take it. I thought it was the wrong name of the question, that's all.
No, because I mentioned this about PhD applications.
Hey guys, question around PhD.
I mentioned this, it's about the PhD applications and how to apply for funding, how to apply for PhDs. And while the departments are helpful, it's not the departments themselves that are problematic, it's the actual university. Like, unless you are, say, involved with a specific PhD supervisor, right? And you want to do a PhD with them, it's very difficult to get the information, because if you're working with them in your final year project and they really like what you're doing and you like what you're doing with them, then that's fine. You can, they'll help you with the PhD application. But for everybody else, not that many students actually get that, get lucky enough to have a PhD student to work with the PhD supervisor they actually like. And it should be around the college that students can apply. They know that there should be everybody knew it was KISS Week, right? That was everywhere. There should be application awareness on how to apply for PhD. It should be on posters, it should be around Facebook, how to apply for PhDs, the way to do that, and how to get funding and who to talk to in the departments if you're looking to do that.
Yeah, the information is there for PhD applications. You can't figure that any student that's dedicated enough to go for a PhD has to be willing enough to get the information, and the information is all there. And you brought up the point earlier that no one in the career department can help on an individual basis. They should have someone separate for arts and for science and everything. But if you've ever actually got into the career department, everyone there is very willing to help, and they all have the same information.
So the information is there. So I don't know why you're trying to get it.
All things from the floor, and then you get one response.
As a point of information, there was a postgrad evening on the 23rd of February that I attended, and that was very well advertised, and I saw it just about everywhere. We got a group email about it as well, where you could talk to any department. Our lecturers were there. I spoke to my lecturers there at it, and also the week after that, the law department, which is my department, also held an informal evening where you could talk to any lecturers again about doing postgrad work. So I think in that, for both of those things, I found the information very accessible for doing a postgrad, because I'm in final year.
Just saying for career guidance versus I went into them and I was such the person they said biology is my major thing, and they were like, oh, I don't know anything about biology, I can't really help you. After me waiting 5 weeks for an appointment.
First of all, to address James Brennan's point, that postgrad evening was 2 weeks ago, yeah? The Irish Research Council and Science Foundation Ireland closed their funding on the 31st of January. So if you wanted to go to anywhere other than Maynooth, it's too late. That's far too late. That night should be in October or November. And while, the information is available, I was in the lab, working 12, 14 hours a week in the lab trying to get my stuff done. I didn't have time to go and research all the information for a PhD. By the time I got around to doing it, it was only 2 weeks before the deadline closed, and there's a 10,000 word statement, there's fiscal applications you have to do. All that stuff needs to be supported by the union. You can't do that yourself if you don't have a supervisor to help you. It's quite difficult to do if you're working you're either working a job or you're studying full time because you want to get a high first. It's very difficult, and the students' union should make it easier for you. Thank you.
Okay, moving on, Niamh. Constitutionally, the Clubs and Socks officer is in charge of organising the Careers Fairs Day. So, first of all, it's going to be a two-part question. Do you feel that should change to education? And secondly, what happens if they do it next year? It's their job to do it. It's not yours.
This was something that was brought up last night as well. I think it definitely either should be the education officer job or it should be with each other together being able to do it, because clubs and societies, student engagement officer, it's just not time for with their own clubs and socks fair themselves. It's just, I think it needs to be more on education side, especially because it's a careers there. It's careers, like it's inviting businesses and organisations in to talk to students. I think it's definitely a more education side of it, but at the end we could liaise with each other and work together and organise it ourselves.
Yeah. And this is actually going to sound really bad because I'm running for the Club and Socks position myself. But given that the Careers Fair Day didn't happen at all this year, as I found out last night, would you have any concerns that, because you were saying about doing it together in tandem, that just maybe it might be one of the things that just falls through the cracks and not happen at all again next year?
Oh yeah, of course. That's why I'd rather it be an education idea than it would be for a clubs and society officer. I think it definitely should be on me or whoever gets in to do it. Whoever gets in to do it. Be on whoever gets into education to do it, not the clubs and societies senior engagement officer.
Okay. Tom. 2 out of 4 of your manifesto points are welfare issues.
Yep.
Why didn't you run for welfare and equality?
Okay, well, although 2 out of 4 of my points are a welfare issue, these are welfare issues which, if are not looked after, can become an education issue. If someone's mental health is not right, it will affect their academic performance. Although it is a welfare issue, it has to be a liaison between the welfare officer and the education officer to ensure that these things can be resolved. So really, although it is a welfare issue, it is also a very strong education issue as well.
Aidan, you said you want to set up a Grinds database. As far as I'm aware, we're still linked with Uni Tuition. Yeah, we already have ties with Uni Tuition, who's an online company essentially that do all that for us, and they do it with a pretty website and posters, and we don't pay anything for it. Yeah. So why do you know of them, I suppose, first of all? Secondly, why do we need a separate database when we have somebody doing it for us already, effectively?
Okay, I know other students' unions around the country do post it themselves, but Uni Tuition, okay, yeah, why pass the buck? Why not take responsibility on it for ourselves? I think we should have There should be Maynooth students, that are around, that are more available. Because if you're uni tuition, they might be from other parts of the, you'll be getting guys from Dublin or whatever, and there's a commuting aspect to it there. I'm not saying they're all, do you know what I mean? I think there was probably people from Maynooth on it as well. But I'm saying the Students' Union one here, where you log in with your own, you log into the accommodation one. So it's only, they're available for Maynooth students. And that way there's less demand on them. They're not getting passed around through this agency uni tuition. They're coming straight, it's just for Maynooth students, these particular grants. Because we have people qualified enough doing PhDs, doing MAs, and even final year students, and their stuff is specific to Maynooth.
I suppose the university always takes policy that they won't advertise grants from their tutors because it's seen as conflict of interest. Essentially, if you're tutoring in a subject, it would be in your best interest to tutor badly so that you could give grants to those same students. So how would you counter the university's stance on this?
The Students' Union is supposedly independent of the university, so stand as an independent organisation.
Cool.
That doesn't really change how the grind is going to work. If it's a student, if it's a PhD student who's given the grinds and they are tutoring students, that doesn't really change.
We're going to move on to, I suppose, generic graduates, or graduate students, postgraduate students even. So postgraduate students, this is a question for all candidates again. Postgraduate students are possibly one of the most disconnected from the university, and you've all, not from the university, from the union, and yet you've all spoken, or almost all of you have spoken strongly about things that need to be done for them, whether it be how to become a postgrad, how to find funding issues, how to develop your careers and things. How do you plan on integrating postgrads further into the union when they are traditionally the most underrepresented and involved with it? Okay, you're first.
Well, firstly, Dylan has actually proposed a new class rep system which would definitely get the postgrads more involved, because it would provide each department and each subject within each department with a postgrad rep, which would mean that they'd be able to interact with the education officer more directly. So if they do have any issues, they can be involved. If they have, also making sure that the postgrads they can come into the education officer if there is an issue with their department, because that's one of the big problems, that because they feel like they might have graduated and they're not an undergrad anymore, they have to deal with their own issues. They should know that the Students' Union is there to support them if they do have an education problem. So that's pretty much the extent of it.
Cool. Niamh.
Okay. I think we said a good bit there about it all. It is up to Uni Council, and I know Dylan's new structure, and I've seen it. It seems that if the postgrad rep had a problem with this, to come forward and to talk about it more, I suppose, and to I suppose the education officer has to be approachable enough to be able to make sure the postgrad student will come to you if there is a problem with that. What was the rest of the question?
I was just wondering if we could know what that question was.
The question was...
The one you just threw away there. No.
Oh, no.
I think that the new structure is going to be really good for the class rep system. We will integrate the postgraduates far more. With regards to them getting information, I think that that's where the Career Guidance Centre has to come in. It has to be more student-centred on how to go about things, what you can get out of your postgraduate, etc. I also think that the postgraduates will now have, with the new system hopefully, our new structure, have a greater voice up at the Senate. So I think that the class rep structure along with the Career Development Centre is something that could really help the postgraduates get the information that they need and push forward. Be more integrated.
Can you just repeat that question just for the word, because they're going on about class rep system?
So
that wasn't the question. Was class
postgraduates are traditionally one of the subsections of the student body who are most disconnected from the union.
Okay.
And yet you've all discussed how you're going to help them, how you help more people become postgrads through your fairs. How do you plan on ensuring that they interact with the union?
Well, for a start, I think we have to stop treating postgrads like they're separate, like they're not actual students. I'm a postgrad, I'm quite involved in the university with the swimming club and whatever, and we have guys on doing PhDs and MAs there. Right? So they're not actually, like this, I'm not saying it's a myth that they're misrepresented or they're not involved, but I think an awful lot of people, it's the same that the way they treat mature students. They say they're another and we're another, but we're not. We're all a united student body. And in relation to getting information, if you want to do a PhD, I know with some of the arts departments, you just email the head of the department. They're quite approachable. And with like I get a departmental scholarship. There's a John Hume scholarship people can apply for here in Maynooth. Other departments do departmental scholarships, not just the history department. I know they've restructured the John Hume scholarship system there. I know there's a good few that aren't happy about that are already on it because they don't get the new full amount or whatever. But I think the information is there. It's just up, if you want to do a postgrad, you know, it's up to you to go to the department or to talk to your lecturer and say, do you know what, like, give me the information I need, because most of them actually do want to interact with people that are looking to do postgraduates. They love interacting with postgraduates because it's not kind of the silver spoon that you need with undergraduates at time that they give out about, because they know postgraduates want to do things themselves and be independent. But I do think we are involved in the university and in the Students' Union.
I'm going to ask one final question. You've all mentioned, three of you there mentioned that response, Dylan's new structures. What happens if that referendum fails? What is your plan for structuring class reps? And you started, so Niamh, you're first.
From looking at the new structure, I really can't see why any student would be against the new structure. It makes so much sense to have them put down in different sections from the Senate to splitting into academics and then as into the other side as well, the Senate. I think it's just a great structure. It makes people more represented in the two different areas of things, and I don't see why it wouldn't pass, and I'd be definitely promoting it to pass.
But if it fails, it's a referendum, so if it fails and you're elected, you're still mandated to run and organise class rep system.
What would I do?
It's your job to organise it. I can't know what the wording is, but be responsible for the maintenance of an effective class rep system to include coordination of training and development for class reps. That's the constitution as it would stand, and your role if the referendum fails. So how would you do that?
What would I do if it failed?
Pretty much for class reps.
I'm very disappointed if it failed, to be honest with you, after all the work that was put into it with Dylan. But I think that I'd have to look at it again, look at the structure again. I suppose guide the students and see what the problem they had with the new structure was. Again, you need to hear from the students a good bit about that kind of stuff, and you need to find out what they think and what the problem was in the first place that it didn't pass. So I would do that straight away if it didn't pass.
Tom?
Yeah, I have a great feeling that it will pass. I think it's a great structure. If it didn't pass, the route that I would take is obviously I'd interact with the different departments. I would see if possibly they could have a different structure that possibly would suit them better, which I don't think there will be. But yeah, it's really about just engagement. If it all fails, I'll have to get down into the ground level, work with the different departments, listen to the students, what they think, and work with it that way really.
Okay, well, if it fails, we'll say it fails. I'm not going to, compliment it, just to be different. But if it does fail, as I said in my manifesto, I'm all about putting things up on the website, online. I know there is a link for a list of class reps there somewhere on that Students' Union website, but it just leads to this will be updated, and apply or whatever to be your class rep. They need to have a list up. They have it in other students' unions. Also, like if you put up the list of when the meetings are going to be on, because I know I was a second year history rep one time. I was told it was Dave Flanagan was left in charge of organising it, and I was voted in as the class rep, and I didn't actually hear anything from him until December. So like that was completely, that's a shambles. No, that's a few years back. That's a good few years ago. But I'm not that old. Yeah, transparency is the main thing. If you put the meetings and the minutes of the meetings online, so people know what's actually been discussed, and if they are getting represented, and then if they're not, they can come to the education office and say, hang on, this lad's not doing a tap, and get someone else put in there.
Okay. Chris?
I've been a class rep for the past 4 years, and I know that the structure has changed dramatically. Basically, there is no structure currently because it's been passed around and nobody has time to properly organise it. Now, I know if Dylan's structure doesn't pass, you could still adapt parts of it. I know students might be unhappy in creating an entire student senate, but still having the idea of having one rep from each subject from each year would be very effective because it means that they have better representation. Now, maybe it wouldn't have to be each subject, it might have to be each degree. But because there's a lot of overlap between modules in degrees, and that's one of the reasons why he wanted to do year by year. So if we could adapt that, we don't need to adapt the student senate, and that they can still behave as the union council, but it's just so that they have more transparency and they can actually access like having faculty meetings so that, you know, they can actually talk to the education officer and say, look, this is a problem. Because at the moment, with the union council constantly getting bogged down in things like repeal the 8th of the marriage referendum, that's important, but it means that we can't get education issues through. Like when there was a problem with the chemistry department, they had a misprint on one of their papers and they refused to deal with it. I wanted to bring it to the union council, but there was so much going on with social issues that there was no time. So I had to deal with it myself. And that's the thing, I wanted to make it much easier for the academics to actually talk to the Vice President for Education.
Sorry there. Chair of the Union Council, I think it's a bit unfair for you to say that there was no time to bring an issue to Union Council. There may have been social issues being debated at the time, but there was plenty of time for other issues, and you never contacted Union Council.
I mean this in the past 3 years, not this particular year. This particular year has been much better.
Fair enough, though.
Rory?
One second. Okay, side Reeve. 2 more comments in the back. Point, yeah.
Yeah, so sorry, just continuing from your answer there, you made reference to the point that you have been a rep for the past couple of years. And on top of that, you were saying that you should have reps on a more individual basis, so rather than have one for courses as a whole, have one, you know, more module based. We're back in second year, so there's, for chemistry, which you were a rep for, there were quite a number of issues in terms of course content, course structure, exam content, and lab practical. And a number of these issues were addressed to you, and you achieved nothing basically.
Okay.
Wait, I'm still going to take all other comments from the floor, and then Chris gets a response. So it's like just, yeah,
If you're
done.
unable to achieve something on a basis of that size, so if you're not able to represent one group of students for one course, how would you expect to represent the student body as a whole within the college?
Okay. Any other comments?
My question was just in relation to you saying that you'd like to bring in a system where there was a rep for each module within the subject.
It said each subject, not each module.
He said subject, not module.
No. I meant each degree structure.
Okay. Good. Good. Did I see somebody else with a hand up? Yeah.
If you've asked anybody who's been in his chemistry classes over the year, he has done so much for them. Ask anybody, seriously. It's a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, like.
And now.
I reply to that. Like.
Yeah, you get response to them all. We'll do 1 minute.
Okay. So you're saying I did nothing, yeah? In second year.
Yeah, better.
No. You said I did nothing. In second year, Alice Blooming was a demonstrator in the chemistry department. She wasn't handing in her work. She made one of the students cry. I went to the department, right? I went to the actual lab offices and said, look, this is terrible. She can't be doing this. They said, it's not our problem. I went to the head of the department, John Stevens himself, and he said, it's not our problem. So what did I do? I wrote up a written complaint, right? Detailing exactly what she'd done, got 56 students to sign it, handed it in, she got reprimanded, and she got sorted out. Students were then happy with that, okay? You sound like I didn't do anything. I've done as much as I possibly can. I can't change course content. I can't do that. I can do what the class rep system allows me to do. I did everything I could.
Okay. We're done. Okay, we're going to end there, unfortunately. Is it a point about what was just said?
No,
because
just for all candidates, part of the job
just a question.
As a public figure, you deal with conflict on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Just wondering if they can have time.
Okay, moving on. Very clear. We're going to end now with a closing statement from each candidate. We're going to do this in reverse order to our starting introductions, and we're finished with questions. So we're going to start with Tom and work backwards. for closing statements.
This is very important. This can't go unasked. Sorry.
We've had the last question.
Andy, this cannot go unanswered because all the candidates, or two of the candidates, have talked about the student assistance funds. And I'd like to discuss it why they were talking about when it's not their job. Sorry, my apologies.
Back to closing statements. So each candidate will have up to 3 minutes max to make closing statements. Please keep it to under 3 minutes or I will start singing. Starting with Tom.
Yeah.
Go.
Okay, so basically this is where I say why you should vote for me. But yeah, it is. Basically, I've been my degree is education for the last 4 years. 5, okay, if you count actually here. I have been through absolutely, trust me, everything that a student can be through in college. And that is, yeah, okay. I know the struggles, I know what's going on, and trust me, if you elect me, I'm very empathetic, is that the word? Go, okay, I'm happy with myself there, okay. I'm very approachable, I'm friendly, and I do have the dedication and the whereabouts to go and get things done if you want them done. Okay, yeah, shush, come on, give me a chance. Okay, so please, I urge you, please go out and vote Tom for VP, okay, my name's actually Thomas. Okay, a lot of people are like, who, Thomas? Yeah, so vote Tom for VP of Education, please. I will do you such justice, it's unbelievable, and that's all I have to say.
Why should you vote for me? I think I think looking at my manifesto, my points seem to be very straightforward. I hope you all think the same. I think they're very achievable as well. I don't think there's been points made even this year as well as over the years that just I don't think are achievable. Again, as Tom said, I feel like I'm also a very approachable person. I feel like that I hold that people wouldn't mind stopping me anytime and asking me any question they need to do. I think the academic advisory concept of it is just a great idea. I think it's so doable, and I think it would be great for students to have that, and great for students to have that experience. I really hope students to get out and vote for me. Again, if you didn't get all your questions answered tonight, please, all you can stop me every time you want after this or tomorrow or next week and ask me any other questions that you have about anything that wasn't discussed tonight. But please get out and vote for me, help me for education. Thank you.
Right, so a lot of shades been thrown around tonight. I'm not going to go into it, but like I've spent a lot of time as a class rep and I've done everything I possibly can for the students, and I've seen too many of my friends drop out of college not because they just didn't know enough, and that's what I'm not going to try and do huge, ultimate, massive things because there's so much basic stuff that's not being done that is vital to be done. It's students need to know all the things I said in my opening statement. Just that's all that needs to be done. Students need to know how to switch between modules, the minimum entry requirements. All things that students need to be able to do in order to carry on doing their degree so they can actually get out and get a job, especially how it is now, you need a degree. I've spent so long helping students. One of my friends was doing maths education and she hated education. She couldn't deal with it. She was going to drop out, and until I talked to her and got her to let her know that she could switch to maths, then now she's loving maths. She's nearly finished. And it's just very important that students know that. Especially that you want to be doing something not only that you're good at, but something that you enjoy. So that's why if students are in first year and they're hating something, like they enroll in say philosophy and anthropology and they realise this is not for me, I really shouldn't have done it. They should know that by the 1st of November if they withdraw, they can re-roll next year and they can, and it won't cost them any fees. That's the kind of thing that I want students to know. It's not flashy, it's not big, it's very basic, important stuff to stop the students dropping out, to make sure more students can graduate, to raise the profile of the college by getting people to have better CVs, get applications for PhDs, and let them know that the careers office is going to be actually useful to them instead of just being open 4 hours a week and not actually providing any CV help or postgrad help in any way. So that's what I'm trying to run on. That's why I'm running for education. I am doing this. It really matters to me. That's why I decided to do it, okay? So I'd really appreciate it if you could vote for me and commit to Chris. Thanks.
Right, I've been around Maynooth quite a while. I lived the absolutely stone mad undergrad life and I survived it. I got through it. I'm still standing here. I've lived a sensible postgrad life. Well, sensible-ish. I'm also, I've seen it from, I suppose, as the Jason Rulo song says, the other side. As an educator in the university working as a tutor, I've seen all aspects. Actually, working as a tutor is one of the reasons I said I wanted to run as education office, because I know the access office here in this university does a great job, and it does a great job, but there's certain issues when I am correcting essays and I know there's someone in my class that like they're with the access office but they won't go to, like you tell them, oh no, yeah, go to the access office, they're there to help you, and they don't go for things like dyslexia and these kind of things. I have to correct an essay that I get as it is. There's no dispensation with the history department anyway. That's why I want to review this kind of system on a departmental basis. It's something I forgot to mention earlier. But it's just to do it on a departmental basis, because I hate correcting essays where I know I talk to the guys, the information is in their head, but when they get it on the paper, it doesn't, like the syntax is all over the shop. There has to be like something done for that, because I'm not allowed to give them help beforehand, and that's an issue with, I think, that can be resolved on a departmental basis. And just look at, I've lived the student life, I've come through it, I've worked as an educator here as well. I know that I've been involved with the Students' Union through clubs and societies over the years as well. I'm a well-rounded kind of character. I'm not afraid of controversy, I'm not going to say that. I've been outspoken at times, no denying it, and I will be in the future, I'm sure. But I won't lie down. I will always fight for your cause. If the boys that were down there at the water polo at the weekend, they'll tell you. I'll fight for the cause. So yeah, if you want someone that's going to fight for you for everything, and also like represent you well, that's me, right? So if you have any issue, I'll mull it over. I'm very sorry, it's cringy, but everyone needs a gimmick, so vote Aidan. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you everyone for your patience, questions and attendance. We're going to finish now and let them all leave the stage with us. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break. We'll be back in 5 minutes with Hustings for President.